So I am Steph Weigel. I'm from the North Dakota DOT. I'm their pavement management engineer. I work in the Planning Asset Management Division in central office. Along with me is Mike Kesey. He's the assistant maintenance engineer. He's also located in central office. And then the third is Les Norrie. He's our district engineer from our Grand Forks district. We have 8 districts, with Grand Forks being one of them. So the talking points we were given, I have to admit I was not involved in our pavement performance targets, so I had to go and survey others. So the targets have not changed the department's philosophy regarding pavement preservation at this time. If NDDOT becomes in a situation where the NHS is deteriorating at an unacceptable level despite our system-wide preservation strategies, we may need to divert preservation projects from the non-NHS roadways to the NHS, but at this time, it does not appear that NDDOT will have to do that. For pavement preservation fitting into our overall asset management plan, again, I wasn't overly involved in that, but the asset management plan will consider multiple life cycle planning scenarios for pavement and bridge asset classes using the trade-off hub. The information in the trade-off hub showing investment impacts on pavements, the department's pavement management model, which is weighted toward preservation. So what the trade-off hub is, it's an in-house model that was made by NDDOT. There's 11 asset classes in it, and it just shows you can take, like if you take money from one asset, how it'll affect the other ones, or if you give money to the asset, same thing. So for best practices, these are the treatments that NDDOT currently uses. Kind of consider them all our best practices. All the crack sealing and mini-macking is done in-house. What mini-macking is it uses microsurfacing material to fill and level out depressed cracks. All other work listed there we do contract out. To focus on a few more specifics, like I said, the mini-mac is used for leveling the depressed cracks. For crack sealing, we try to crack seal all of our roadways every 2 years. Spray patching, the North Dakota DOT has 9 spray patchers that we use. And mastic is new to NDDOT, and it's being used for leveling depressed cracks and for filling raveling joints and uneven surfaces, so something new that we're trying. On the preservation side, mill and overlay with wrap, we use quite a bit. We save money by reusing the millings. And the underseal, North Dakota DOT finished their 4th underseal project this year. The first one we did was in 2015. It was a 3-inch overlay, so it didn't crack until 2017. And then we got 1 year of data and we chip sealed it this year, so now we have to wait to see how it actually performs. However, the district that it was done in, they went out before it was chip sealed and they figured they were seeing about 70 cracks per mile on the unsealed miles and about 40 cracks per mile on the sealed miles. Mill down to the base, that's something, again, that we don't do a whole lot of, but are gonna try. Right now we do what's called sliver grading, which is we just widen the roadways 2 feet on each side, which is great, but the 2 feet doesn't give you much width for very long. So by milling down to the base, we can get additional width or back to the original width, and also get rid of all the old pavement that has the distresses in it. So for new projects in North Dakota, 3 out of these 4 projects were submitted through our innovation program, which we started in 2015, which has been really good for the North Dakota DOT because it allows us to try new things. The hot in place recycling, we've never done that before. We're gonna do it in 2020. The cold in place we have done before, but it's been since 2008 that we've done it. The wrap chip seal, it was supposed to go this year, but the contractor unfortunately couldn't get to it, so it'll go next year. And the scrub seal just got approved through our innovation program. Now we just have to find a good candidate project for it. So again, these aren't necessarily new, but they're new to North Dakota, so we're very excited to see how they'll do. So I was able to attend the Rocky Mountain West Partnership out in Portland, Oregon. Things about the Oregon DOT, they have approximately 8,000 miles of roadway. 95% of that is asphalt, and they strive to keep 88% in fair or better. I guess a fun fact about Oregon too is they don't believe in plastic grocery bags, so they will never know the challenge of trying to get 10 bags on each arm to make 1 trip in with groceries from your car to your house. So very depressing for them. So they do what's called rough road ahead reports. So it shows the conditions of their assets, like pavements and bridges and all that, based off of different budgets for the next 20 years in a way that it's easy for the public to understand. Another thing that their highway division administrator touched on was ways to tell their story on pavement preservation. So they try to focus more on the economic impacts, not just the impacts to the roads, like how many jobs it will affect, and along those lines. I also touched on quality, how they struggle, like I'm sure most of us do, with trying to get good quality employees, not only for the DOT, but also for the contractor. So they're looking at ways where they can try to retain that more quality workforce. So of course, short term would be wages and benefits, and in the long term, they're looking into more outreach programs, such as attending high school functions and trying to get kids interested at that age. And another thing he talked about was work zone safety. Unfortunately, this year, Oregon lost one flagger. They had one that was seriously injured and countless close calls. So they find, like everybody, distracted driving is becoming a big issue. So they're working with industry partners to try to somehow address this issue. So for the partnership itself, it began in 2007. There's 13 states. They also had everyday 4 counts meeting prior to the partnership meeting. Ours is coming up after the meeting. I was able to attend, and it is a very good meeting. For their task forces, their first one is membership and communications. So for their memberships, they try to keep a good attendee list and possible attendee list to try to recruit members and show those members how the partnership is important to the industry. For communications, they try to look at ways to expand their communications, whether it's sharing presentation at other partnership meetings, stuff along those lines. Training, again, just try to find different training opportunities. They have a pavement preservation training library that's located on the TSP2 website, and then also share success stories that they have accomplished. And the last one is research. So they compile a pavement preservation research project list. Our partnership does the same. And then they collect any technical briefs or papers that they could put out on their website also. And then lastly, they identify needed pavement preservation research needs.
Just from this morning's conversation, you might want to define what you mean by underseal.
Okay, so the underseal is you mill, then you chip, then you overlay, and the intent is to try to slow or reduce reflective cracking. I guess to touch more on that too, what we found, the first project that we did a regular mill, and it seemed to go fine. The second one, I got a call from our district office, very concerned because all the oil was pooling down in the mills and the rocks or the chips weren't sticking. What we found happened was the mill machine was going way too fast, and unfortunately we had no spec to slow it down. So the next 3 projects that we've done, rather than do a conventional mill, we've done a micro mill instead to try to help that.
What products are you using on your underseal?
It's just a conventional chip seal. It was a good question. I was not involved with it. I would have to check and get back to you on that.
One thing that I'm glad Stephanie mentioned that I didn't. So another benefit of being a director is, as a partnership, we do sponsor directors to go to other meetings. And Stephanie mentioned she went to the Rocky Mountain Partnership meeting. Last year, she and I went to the AASHTO maintenance meeting. I know Jerry Geib has traveled to, I believe, some of the other meetings. So those are opportunities available to our directors. So another incentive to be involved. What is a wrap chip seal? It's
a chip seal that uses wrap for the chips rather than aggregate. Yep. So he's asking about basically the gradation of the chips, correct? We have a micro millings pile that in the plans it states that the contractor will have to bring in a crusher and meet gradations that will be used for the chips. Yep. He asked if the aggregate that was milled directly off the roadway will be used for the chips, and yes, it will be.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.